Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Guys, in this session I am going to talk about context API in React. So guys, context API is one of the very important hooks in React, and we are going to see that hooks, how we can apply that hooks in your existing application. So we already created one application, that name is student, add student here. So if you can see my screen, so I added this form, so where we can accept the student name and division. So once I click on this add student button, so we will appear one table where I'll be going to I displayed these details inside the table. If we don't have any student as of now, so that's why I displayed one of the component, that is welcome message for the user. Okay, so this is the basic application I created here. So let's see whether we are getting student detail or not. So I added the student. So now if you can see here, so inside this table we will get these details: roll number, name, division, action. And if you want to delete the student, so you can click on a delete button. So okay, let me add one more thing. So yeah, you can delete like this. So this is the basic application I created, and by using this application I'll be going to explain you how we can apply the context API here. Okay, so let's start from the coding part here. I'll be going to first go through this application, how code written, and then how this form, this welcome message getting persisted on the UI here. So let's start here from the code perspective. So this is the main function, if you can see here, and I rendered these three things. One is the student card. So this is the first component I created to display the form, so where we can perform the card operation, like create, update, and redelete something. Apart from that, this is the show students, like a show students component, so where we are passing these details, like student details and delete. So and we have showed these details on a UI. Apart from that, we pass this welcome message. So if we don't have any student detail, then and then only we displayed that message on the screen here. Okay, so for that we require the student details list to check whether that list is empty or not. So these are the props we pass here. So to this student card component, we pass the add student props. Then to show the students, we need students details here, we need delete student action. So these things we required here, so we pass it to this three component. Okay, then we mention, or we added the implementation for these actions. For to add the students, we added this method. This is the arrow function, so we added, and we updated the state of this use state. Okay, once we add the student, once we click on a add student, then internally what it will do, inside this state we push one object. Okay, by retrieving the detail from the event. So the first name and last name, sorry, name of the student and division of the student, and we updated the state of that student. Okay, apart from that, what I did here, I added one delete student of arrow function, so which will delete the what it will do, it will just filter the list which is which like that roll number is not equal to the existing list roll numbers, and we will get the new list, and we updated the new list to the use state. Okay, so this is a basic application I created here. So this student card is used to perform the add operations, add student details. This show students, we are passing the student details and delete student details, sorry, event. And apart from that, we have one another component that is used to show the welcome message on a screen. So for that, we need to pass the student details list. So then by using that student details list, So it will check whether that list is empty or not. If that list is empty, then it will show the message. Okay. So this is the basic application we added. But now if you can see here, we need to pass this explicitly, that props add student. Apart from that, you can see the student detail we pass two times. Okay, so we pass the student detail to the student show student component, and we pass the student detail to the welcome message component. Okay. That means we are sending the same data. Okay, we are sending the same data to the multiple components. So in that case what we have to do, we have to go with the use context. Okay, so what is the use context here? Guys, use context is used to provide the global store. Okay, global store. Like, what is the global store here? Suppose I want this student detail list at multiple places, so don't pass this student detail list separately to the each component. Okay, so that context API said don't pass it separately to the each component. So declare that at a globally and access from that global location. Okay, so that context API said. So declare that student details at a globally and access is wherever we required. So don't pass this student detail to every component here. So let's see how we can achieve these things here. So first we have to provide we have to use the provider, like global provider. So how to create the global provider here? So let's go and create the global provider. Let me add one package here, that is the utils. Under the utils, I'll create one global provider. Okay, let me create the typescript file which is type of a JSX. Student, I'll give the student provider. Okay, which is responsible to provide the student at a global level. Okay, so from wherever we can like access the details in every component. So I required this details, student detail in welcome masses component, then I can easily access these details. Okay, without passing any props. Now student provider, I created this student provider here. So let's create the student provider. How we can create the student provider? So there is the, so we have to use the context API here. Then we need to create the context. Okay, we need to create the context here. So how to create the context here? Export. First we have to export it. Then we can mention the student context provider. Okay, is equal to create context. See, import it from the React. Sorry, I missed something here. Const I need. Okay, correct. I created one student context provider here, and I exported. Now I can import it anywhere by using the export keyword. Now you can see something missing here. So that create context need to pass the one default value. So I am going to pass the empty array as a default value. So this is our student context provider. So this is the, this provider is responsible to provide the global storage to the every component. Okay, like how we can provide the global storage to the component? Let's see. Let me go to the app component. See, now I'll define this three component. I'll define this three component under the provider. How I can provide it? So you have to give the import this student context provider here. Once I import it, okay, you have to mention like a provider Okay, and keep this all component inside this provider. Okay, if you can see what I did here, I created globally, like I created a root tag here, so which is saying like a student context provider. So this provider is responsible to provide the details to this child components. So this student card is a child of a context provider, welcome is a child of a context provider, and show student is a child of a context provider. Then what kind of value you have to provide to the provider, to this sub component? So we have to provide first the student details. Okay, then how we can provide it? So you have to pass the value. Okay, inside this value you can pass this variable. So this details you want to provide. Okay, now what we did, we created the context provider. Okay, we keep all like all component inside the context provider. Okay, under the context provider, after that we pass the value. So which value we pass? We pass this state directly. This state we pass it to the this student context provider. Now how you can access this state here? So by using the use context. So there is one hooks in React, so which is used to access this details from the provider. So this student details from the provider, how to access this? Let's see. Where we use this student details, we use it in show, like show students component. Okay, how to use the, how to get it? You can use the use context, and inside the use context you have to pass the provider. Okay, which provider? Student context provider you have to pass as a parameter, and you can declare, you can return this value. Okay, student details, and remove it from here. Now go back to your app.txt file. Okay, if you see here, remove that props from here as well. Okay, not required to pass, because we provided that value to the context provider, and from this context provider we access this value inside this component. How you access it? By using the use context. Now let's go back and check whether it is able to show the student details or not. Yeah, let me add one student. Yeah, we can able to see the student details, man. Correct. So you can able to delete as well. Okay, let me go back to the code. Okay, where we use again that student details, we use it in welcome message. Remove it from here. Okay, remove it from here and go inside this welcome message component and get it from the use context. Okay, get it from the global store. So what is our global store? We store this detail inside the student context provider. Okay, how to access the student context provider? By using the use context. So this is the one of the hooks of a React. Okay, import it from the React, add the one parameter, that is student context provider, get the student details from this context provider. Okay, remove the profs. Okay, now check whether messaging is working or not. Go back to your app.tsx file, remove this. Okay, I already removed it, this props. Okay, let me check. Yeah, you can able to see the message. Okay, let me add and check. Yeah, man, it's working fine. Okay, go back and check, is there any other thing we can use to provide? Yeah, so we pass this add student and delete student. Then how you can manage? I want to send this, I want to store this function as well inside the provider. How you can do that? Yeah, man, you can do that. Okay, how you can do? You can pass this here as a value. And how you can pass the value? You can create the object here itself. How you can do that? Let me show you. Okay, like in JavaScript you can create the object by using the curly braces. Okay, you have to keep this in mind. Okay, now so this is your key and pass the value. What is the value you have to pass? Go and pass it as the same things. If key and value are both same, then no need to pass the key value. You can directly use the, okay, you can directly use the value itself. Okay, then I want to pass this function add. Okay, then I want to pass this delete function as well, delete student function. Then why we are getting the error? Because we declare the, when we declare the context provider here, at that time what we mention, we initialize the array here. See, we have to convert it into the object. How you can do? Go here and just give the curly braces. Then we provided the default value as a like one object. Okay, let me go back and see, the error is gone. Okay, now for the clarity purpose I just give the key value here. So because object having the key value. Okay, let me pass the add student as a key and value as a add student same. Okay, correct. Now so this is the object, that object having the three values: student, details, add student and delete student. Okay, now I was thinking like, so this will fail somewhere. So because what we did here, so we use student detail. Wherever we use student detail, so at that time we will get an exception. Let me check it. See, we started getting the exception. Why we started getting the exception? Because we are directly, like we are directly extracting the student detail here. If you can see here, from this use context, from this provider, we are directly retrieving the student detail. But now we are not passing the student detail as a single object. Okay, we are not passing the student details here itself. So we pass it one object. So we have to destructure it. Okay, we have to destructure it. Okay, let me check again. Yeah, it is working now, but message is not working. Let me go back and check the message, welcome message. Again, we have to destructure it by using the curly braces, because we are passing the object to the context provider. If you can see here, what we pass the object here. So inside the object we added these three things. Okay, to extract these details now we have to use this, we have to destructure it by using the curly braces. Let me go back and check. Yeah, the message component is working fine here. Okay, both are working fine. Show component and message component both are working fine. Okay, so let me go back to the code and let me destructure the delete student as well, because we pass the delete student here as well. Okay, what we pass here? To the student card component we pass the add student event, that function. But we already provided this function to the context provider at a global level, so no need to pass. You can access this student from the context provider itself. You can use this use context, provide the context student context provider to the use context and retrieve this add student from this use context. How you can retrieve? You have to destructure by using the curly braces and remove this add student. Okay, and go back to the student code where we call the student code component. So you can delete this props from the student code, because we access this add student directly there, no need to pass it from here. Okay, we directly access this by using the context provider. Okay, let me go to the browser and check whether add student is working or not. Yeah, it should work, man. I know that. Yeah, it is working fine. You can able to see the details. We can able to add the details, correct? Okay, that's all. Now let me go back to the uh, code and let's destructure this delete functionality as well. Let me go to the show student and let's use this delete student from the context provider, so which already we pass it. Let me go back and delete it from here as well, because no need to pass these props because we already pass it from the as a part of this provider. Okay, now go back to the show student here. Okay, and let's check the delete functionality whether it is working or not. Let me add it. Yeah, it is working fine, man. Everything is working fine. Got it. So this is the context provider. What we did, we created one global provider. Okay, so this is a create context. By using the create context we can create the context provider. Okay, which is responsible to provide the storage, okay, or value storage to each component wherever we required. Okay, suppose I provided some details to this provider, so from that provider you can access these details anywhere in the your React application. So you can see here we provided these details and we access these details inside this component. Only inside this component we can access. If you try to access these functionalities outside here, it won't possible. You can't do that. You can't access these details here. Okay, let's try try to access it. Suppose I'm going to create one basic component. Okay, so that's all, guys. Yeah, so what I created here, we demo component, like we created one demo component, and we just wanted to check whether we can able to access this uh, global values inside it or not. Okay, const demo component, let's create something like this. Okay, and export this component, export default demo component. Okay, that's all. And inside it, let's try to use the use context and give the name of the use student context provider, and try to access the that values, which value I want to access the student details here. Okay, fine. So I tried. Now let's return this details to the UI. Let me convert this into a string and JSON dot and do something like student details. Okay, let me add this in app component outside this provider. Let's see what I can do. Demo component. Okay, let me print it. See what we are getting, man. So it's not working. Why? Because objects are not valid in React child. So you may not render collection children, use array instead. Correct. So you cannot access these details inside your like out of the scope. Okay, because these details only available to the child of the provider. Those details are not going to available to the any outside component. Correct. So this is not available inside the demo component. We cannot use like this. The details can be accessed by only these three components. Okay, that's all guys. Thank you for watching this session. Because and like thank you for watching. And again, if you have any doubts, so ask, comment it. I'll be going to reply that. Okay, if you have any doubt. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for watching this session.